We now return to Ominous Prime.
Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Ominous Prime, and we're going to be looking at episode 2 of Reacher and comparing it to the book Killing Floor by Lee Child. It needs to be said that this is going to have spoilers in it, so if you haven't watched Reacher or if you have not read the book Killing Floor, you may want to stop now, and it's all right. Come back, check out this video when you're ready to go ahead and do so. And if you missed the first episode with me breaking that one down, go ahead and check out that video and then come back to this one. That way you can kind of be caught up on what's happening in the story. All right, here we go. Of course, on Amazon is where you'll be able to watch this. Okay, they're just getting back from the morgue where Reacher has discovered that his brother, Joe, has been murdered.
I need 250 pounds of frontier justice tearing up this town. Outside the morgue, he actually listened to you.
And what if he doesn't now?
Shoot him.
Now, in the book, none of this happens here. As I was saying at the end of the last video, Reacher actually doesn't physically meet up with his deceased brother in the morgue. He hears about it and is confirmed by the matches for his brother's fingerprints.
Okay, first, this is not your investigation. I figure your plan's to go to Hubble's house and dig your thumb into his eye until he tells you why he confessed to a murder he didn't commit.
Something like that.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna be there to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I can either follow you the whole way, or you can save the shoe leather and get in the damn car.
And Roscoe, again, is a lot more caring and nurturing to Reacher in the books than she is here. She's a lot more stern. Seems to be a different direction that they wanted to take here for the show.
I'm not a vagrant. I'm a hobo.
And that line I was getting. That one actually is in the book as far as like saying he's a hobo.
Officer Conklin, Mr. Reacher, please come in. But at least now I get a chance to thank you, Mr.
Now,
Reacher.
Mrs. Hubble here
It's just Reacher.
Well,
is
Reacher.
played by
My
Kristen
husband
Crook.
told me that you looked out for him in that awful prison.
She does a wonderful job, and it wasn't expected that she was actually in the show. A sort of a reunion between her and Aquaman here from Smallville.
Imagine Paul, criminal. Man's never so much as jaywalked.
Their meeting is not like this in the book either.
He was. And he had your husband's telephone number on him.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. Why?
Well, that's what we're here to find out. Why my dead brother had your live husband's number on him.
Is it 8:30 already? I'm sorry, but I've got to get these two to bed. Girls, say hi to Officer Conklin and Mr. Reacher.
Hello, Mr. Conklin. Hello, Mr. Reacher.
It's just Reacher.
Well, this is Lucy and Tally.
In the
Y'all
book,
brush
he
your
doesn't
teeth?
Yes.
make people
Well, I
call
think
him
I'm gonna look you up
Reacher.
in a minute. Yeah, no. She's the one with the glasses. Can you believe she's a year younger than Lucy?
They do a pretty good job of fleshing out the additional characters that are in the story that weren't done so much in the book. From his point of view, there's a bunch of characters that he doesn't really care much about. In his mind, he didn't care about what was going on here in Margrave. He wanted to leave until he found out that his brother was involved, and that sentiment is kept here. Now, Roscoe and Charlie, that's Mrs. Hubble,
One, she said Tally is the one in the glasses.
in the book didn't really have
Glasses
much of a
is the main difference
relationship at
between
all,
girls. Everything else was a matter of degree.
despite
Taller,
being
shorter.
in the same town.
Glasses was absolute. One wears them, one doesn't. Right before I was attacked in prison, a guy pointed at me and said to him, I'd taken a guy's glasses
Why?
because he wasn't a nice man. I still had him on when these cons came at me. Their instructions were clearly to find the new boys and take out the one in glasses. Hubble's had been smashed. He was a target, not me. Hubble's on the runner, they've already got him.
Okay. You said there were two things.
Some kind of seed. Why would a banker have him on his dress shoes?
Here we call them hitchhikers because they stick on you and they go for a ride. This is Kogon grass.
They didn't get
I
into
don't know if that's why it
hitchhikers
doesn't
in
produce
the
birds.
in the
Okay.
book either.
Still some reason they were on his laces.
The only thing that this does here for
I told Philly
Reacher
the
is
shooter was someone
confirm
knew
that
well,
he
but
was
it
out
more than
there.
that. Killer was a skilled marksman.
I'm going to try not to get ahead
knows?
of what they're
Says
going
13, see,
over here in this
There's someone
episode
caught
to
behind,
future
had to turn him
episodes.
before he could do anything about
So
it.
I'll address some of the things that come up then. What they're talking about here
Shooter came through here.
is a little bit different
Waiting
than
for
what's in
Joe.
the book because
Knew he was coming.
some of these events, like the meeting with Charlie, didn't happen in this way, but the same information is getting out to the viewer.
2 days ago, Moon would have been about 26 degrees further west.
This is just further illustrating how Reacher's mind works here in the show
This
because
is where he hid.
we're taking a ride with Reacher in the book. They're having to do these
Shooter wanted
scenes
to be
here
close.
so that
It was personal.
the viewer, you and I,
takes your
are
life
able to
as
go
well as
ahead and see how smart and understanding he is in tracking down people, doing police work. Now, this is a regret that Jack Reacher
Do you
has.
have a family?
He
What do you do for
sees
a
this as a
Small talk to see if I say something. help
basically a
investigation.
stop of any chance of
Okay,
getting
but
closer
you
with
know,
his
they brought it
brother.
up. You might as well answer
His
my
brother
questions.
thought highly
Oh,
of
that
him
rookie.
That's
because
interesting.
he wasn't that interested
You
in
think
what
that
his
this
brother
might have
was
been connected
into
to his
and what
job?
his
Oh,
brother
man, it's a
was
big
doing.
umbrella, terrorism, drugs,
It didn't mean he wasn't
guns,
proud of his
border
brother.
crimes. What
He
department
loved
do you
his
work in?
brother,
Don't know.
but
What?
he as a person tends to keep to
Drive
himself,
fast.
doesn't get
Where you
attached to
going?
anybody.
Find a motel.
He
I'll give you
has
a ride.
what I would
Don't want one.
say is issued commitment. So he is fine with meeting people and leaving people without much of a care. Those that spend a lot of time in the military, they get used to this. I myself, as a military brat, I understood, what moving from base to base is like.
No, you don't.
And this is a
Hey, come here.
big departure
wanna
from
talk
the
to you.
book here. As
Heard you
Reacher
got
doesn't
arrested
actually
for murder.
stay at any motel.
What kind of bullshit you bring
in the
into our
book.
town?
Roscoe actually puts him up in her home. She brings this guy she just met into her
There's two
home.
Sixers worth of empty. Let me guess. Rich guy in a fancy.
Now, this
hotel
kind
with
of
50 million
change
pockets.
from the book to the show,
Honored.
in a way, makes sense to me
Well, it's the wrong day to ask me.
because
Bullshit.
a modern woman, I believe, would not
talking
just
to
bring
you.
this guy who's accused of murder into her home, even if she's a police officer.
I'm just gonna break the hands.
So
of two
because of that,
There's
this
4 of us
whole
here.
thing
One of
does
these
not
days, drive to
happen.
the hospital.
But for a TV show, it's exciting because we get to see stuff like this happen.
I know where the hospital is.
He's the one that's going to drive them.
What the hell just rolled into Margrave?
And I can't tell if Roscoe is like turned on by this here or a bit scared about what's going on here. One thing for certain is that she doesn't see any reason to get involved in stopping that from happening, making any arrests for those assaults and batteries. And now we're about to have an event here that's horrific. In the book, and I know I say in the book a lot here, this does not happen. There's no dog. There's just a little bit of character building for Reacher.
Hey, can I help you? No. I must have knocked the bowl over because I gave him water this morning.
No, you didn't.
Bowl was bone dry. You calling me a liar?
Yes.
I suggest you leave my property.
This is something actually Reacher and I have in common. I'll call people out. Now in the book, because they had Roscoe and Reacher staying in the same place, she went off to work. He walks in,
I can't talk right now. There's
and
another murder.
she's disheveled,
Police Chief Morrison.
and like everybody's disheveled.
I didn't do it.
I know.
Because you staked me out all night?
In the book, she didn't have to because they were in each other's company. So in Killing Floor, Reacher actually does not go to the scene at all. He gets to see everybody else after all this has gone down.
Baker
he's able to confirm with Finley what's happened because of what Hubble told him would happen.
Crime scene's worse than anything I ever saw in Boston, and I saw things in Boston.
But for a TV show, this makes for better storytelling, in my opinion.
How did you know that?
It doesn't make a lot of sense, though, to let someone into a crime scene, but it is showing that Reacher is like a force of nature. You can't stop him. He's going to go in there. He's going to do his investigation to find out why his brother died, bring those that did it to justice, his kind of justice.
Jesus Christ.
I asked a question just like this one.
In his stomach. You'll find him during the autopsy.
He actually keeps that to himself for quite a while. And they're not in his stomach, it's in her stomach, the spouse of the chief.
No more games. How do you know what you know?
The people Hubble worked for said they'd nail him to a wall and cut his balls off if he caused problems.
You said Hubble didn't tell you anything in jail.
I lied. My brother didn't trust Margrave cops enough to tell you he was tracking something down here. Why should I? Joe was clean, unlike that modern art piece hanging inside.
So you're saying that Morrison was working with the same killers Hubble was mixed up with?
That, or we just saw a big fat coincidence nailed
In
to the
Killing Floor, Hubble explains that there's a certain number of people that are involved that he knows of. In Reacher's head, he's counting off those that he's discovering that have been involved.
Sure. Roscoe
And then he
checks out,
explains
she
that
got
here to
me.
Finley.
But you're hiding something. Tell me.
But they leave that number out here, and I don't know if that was done so that they could have a larger number of people involved, because for the most part, they have a bunch of henchmen that are brought in,
Whoever's running this had Morrison
where it
on
was
his phone.
relatively, I would
No one thinks
say,
she's
a
Jeremy throwing her
small
too.
group of
I
people
skipped you to get to Teal.
involved in the book version.
So I guess that means he's dirty and you're okay.
But you're probably right. At least we know who we can trust. I'm gonna call my buddy at the FBI.
Teal's first order was no stadies, no feds. He wants us kept in house.
Outside investigators will send whoever did this into hiding. We'll let them think they've got it under control for now.
There's no we here.
The Morrisons were killed for a misstep. Not pinning the murder on me, Hubble walking out of prison alive. But the way they were killed sent a message to their organization. Don't screw up and don't cross us. You two think you can go it alone? You can't go it alone. There's only we here. You don't see that? I'll find whoever killed Joe on my own.
I thought you might have been Paul. That's why I left the gate open.
You never came home?
He called late last night, said that he had to speak to some people about sorting out this bank madness, and when I woke, I realized he'd never come home. His phone goes to voicemail. Listen, I have been with Paul since freshman year UGA. He has never once not come home.
Armed, you go find Finley.
In Killing Floor, they don't have any cell phones.
I need your car.
Today, per the powers given to me by the town charter, I have appointed myself chief of police, and I will not.
And this
sleep
does not happen
until
in
we
the
have
book this way.
perpetrators behind
He
bars
just shows up
and
over at the
on
police
their way
station
getting the
and
needle.
starts running things.
But what the hell do you know about law enforcement? That's right. We need us a real police chief and a real chief detective, too.
I think he's talking about you.
All due respect.
Now, this is only trying to stir up racism that wasn't as pronounced in the town as it is here. Now, the questions they bring up here seem more to answer some questions that might come up if you're reading Killing Floor.
Mr. Reacher has a rock-solid alibi.
Now, this gentleman here, we do not meet in this way whatsoever. Mr. Kleiner is actually met in the diner where Reacher first appeared, when we actually get to see Kleiner Jr.
Mayor Teal.
along with Kleiner's wife.
I will provide whatever funds, whatever resources to find whomever is responsible for these heinous acts.
I just want to let you know that I'm going to start cross-referencing forensics from both murder sites to establish pattern.
Pattern? What the hell has Morrison and his wife got to do with an out-of-towner and some fella he was probably diddling under an overpass?
That's what I want to find out.
These killings are not related. Over the course of his career, Morrison took countless criminals out of circulation, combed the archives, track down the biggest scumbags he ever arrested, who've since been released or paroled, pardoned, everything in between. A police officer was crucified. I think that takes priority. Or did they do things differently up there in Massachusetts?
There's a reason why Teal does not like Finley. Well, because Finley is a black guy.
Malevolence, and it's a whole lot more common.
You know who's not incompetent?
They were doing the interviews, and it was approved by Teal, along with
You're one of those conspiracy nuts.
police chief.
Guys with the kind of money and power Kleiner wields are
And the reason that was done is
You want this town to hate you more than it already does?
all the things that Reacher had said that Finley was going through had Finley in a state of mind where he did the worst interview that he could
like Joe's rental car.
ever
I
have.
had one, but no one's left at the murder scene.
So,
Handing out assignments now.
for what's going on in town,
And the next one has to do with Hubble's wife.
they
and
were
kids.
like, this is the
They
detective
need
we
protection,
need.
even if Hubble's already dead.
He's going
This
to
guy's
do
getting some power that isn't
horrible
gonna
as a
work 'cause they can't
detective.
own anything.
He could barely talk during his interview, and he stammered all the time, and his mind was all over the place. Picard,
Known him for years. Gave me the best advice I ever got. Don't take the Margrave job.
yes, he did. He did indeed say that. That's matching what's in the book.
I'd like to offer my apologies for your arrest. My condolences for your brother.
Teal was not cordial to Reacher at all in the book. Now, for what Teal's saying here, as far as they need to go ahead and go through the enemies that the chief had made, seems a bit odd for a place that hadn't had any murders in a long time.
You looking for payback?
So I'm not sure what murderers he's thinking of that are getting released into town.
You might not be the only one. Watch your back, Mr. Reacher.
Are you worried about me, Mr. Mosley?
Worried about my bottom line. You might need another shave before you leave town.
Very true.
My husband trusted Reacher.
Now, Teal
Is he a good person?
in Killing Floor does not like that barbershop.
I think so.
Again,
I don't have the luxury of certainty right now.
because
but
the proprietors are black.
bad things are happening.
There's two of them in the
Reacher can
book
help us.
working in that shop. And here we just have the one Mr. Mosley, who's kind of a combination of both characters put into one.
Where are we going?
Got a call from
But because Teal doesn't
IGA
go there,
Picard is on his way.
and because Kleiner doesn't go there,
I bought a burner.
the other people in town don't want to go there.
Feel safer if we stayed with the two of you.
I'll go over why that is
Keep you
a
safe.
bit.
That's what your husband would have wanted.
Why are you talking about him in the past tense?
We have to assume Paul's dead. They tried to kill him in prison. They killed Morrison and his wife. Your husband's gone missing, so they most likely killed him too. There'll be time to grieve later. You have to think about your kids.
You need to pack.
Now, Picard's description is interesting. He's described as a very large man that makes Reacher feel a little dwarfed by him because of his size. Says that Picard looks like a former athlete, very muscled.
Mr. Predicto.
Looks like he can take care of himself.
All signs indicate
These flashbacks aren't in the book. That's all right, though, because we get to see a bit of Jack and Joe's relationship here as
You boys looking for a dance
how they deal
partner?
with bullies.
You think you can take all of us?
We're on the move. It's not safe anymore. Let's go.
I'm not ready.
Let's go now.
Girls! Lucy, come get your backpack.
Hey, easy.
This is the show's version of Picard. Picard's from the FBI
I need my own gun.
out of Atlanta.
I'll get the bags.
All right, come on, girls, come on. Hop in. Here, help yourself through a seatbelt. Got it.
Okay. This is off the books. get a family into an actual protection program would take time and red tape. Finley said he can't get the FBI officially involved yet, so I'm gonna take a few personal days, watch the family myself. Finley and I are tight. We ain't that tight.
We won't let you get burned.
Better not.
Now, the person that they have in this role,
I told him not to take this job.
I feel that he does a good job. However, he's not as physically imposing
You're gonna have to do it on the side.
as what's described in
Got
the
everyone
book.
on a snipe hunt. Finley will fill you in.
Okay, what about you?
I'm gonna go see that guard Spivey at Warburton.
Now, Reacher does go visit Spivey and Killing
Taylor
Floor.
Spivey, Chief Detective Finley, Margrave PD, calling on account of Jack Reacher.
The car that
Okay.
Reacher takes in the book is a Bentley,
See you there, jackass.
a very expensive car that stands out.
You sure as hell don't sound like a black man from Boston unfound.
Now, they're just the person they cast to play Finley,
I thought I'd return the
as
favor.
far as sounding like he's from Boston.
You should have let those boys kill you in the prison.
Now, when he meets up with Spivey in the book, he actually meets up with him out in front of the prison. And Spivey is saved because a bus of prisoners is pulling up.
No. It's too small. It'll be uncomfortable. Well, a smart move would be to shoot me right here, but you haven't done that yet. Whatever it is, it means that when I make my move, you're gonna hesitate. He who hesitates...
Happens a bit different. Actually, this confrontation here doesn't really happen. Again, this makes for good TV, though.
Stop where you are! Mark 7, I need backup at the Blue Cat.
Both Avis and Hertz confirmed no unaccounted for rental cars in the entire state.
So right now they're in the Killing Floor. They were searching for Joe's
It
car.
didn't go as planned.
Find out where he rented it to possibly see if they can locate where he was staying to see if they can find any clues because Hubble is in the wind or presumed to be dead.
I said you could work with us.
It's not my fault Spivey didn't buy it. Good, I still couldn't sound like you.
You've been here a couple of days and you've already thrown down in Warburton, beaten up some locals, and fought a couple of goons in the parking lot.
They weren't goons. Probably military or ex-military. South American.
How could you know that?
Spoke Spanish, had Glock 17s, and the technique one guy used to headbutt me was from a martial art called Ricey. Hardly anyone uses except branches of South American Special Forces. Plus, if they weren't, I would have killed them within 10 seconds.
In Killing Floor, what's going on politically at this time is there's a president that's in office who has essentially set up a blockade to prevent people getting into the United States illegally.
Drugs, guns, human
Because of that, it's increased the cost of the Coast Guard and increased military spending, as it were.
Figure people usually get hurt
And
when
the
they're
president is coming up for re-election. So in a week, they are to be stepping back that, allocating the money elsewhere.
Back till tomorrow, and by now Spivey's heard things have gone sideways at the bar.
Go get some rest. Or I can arrest you for vagrancy and you can sleep in my holding cell.
He's not a vagrant. He's a hobo.
Just tell him. Make sure he goes straight back to the motel.
Hey, I get it. In the past few days, you lost one brother and had 4 fights. If anybody needs a drink, it's you. There's a roadhouse just across the border in Alabama.
Now, this was actually an idea that Reacher had because of the stress that she was going through, because in the book, Roscoe is actually quite in shock of the violence of what she witnessed. She had not seen anything like this before, and seeing one of her own killed and nailed to the wall, Reacher thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and get away for the evening and to cheer her up with some food and dance, alcohol. So they kind of flip things around here, trying to show, I guess, the softer side to Roscoe, that she's warming up to him. However, in Killing Floor, it's my opinion that even though he's got his trauma of what he's dealing with Joe, he sees the woman that he's falling for going through some pain, and he wants to be there for her, and so that's why
Feeling any better?
he tries to be more chivalrous. But it's not necessarily a one's better than the other option. It's just different.
I don't need your jacket.
What's going on? Road east to the highway flooded. No one's getting through tonight.
How they go about romancing each other, as it were, being different from what was done in Killing Floor to this. Again, it's just different. It's not one is better than the other. Personalities are a little bit different, and so I guess with that, it changes the dynamic. The discussion about the snacks and things like that, it's funny, and I can appreciate the writers working on something like this. Now, Gray's described a little different in the book. She had more of a closer relationship, not like romantic or anything like that. But he was a coworker that she saw that as being brilliant at his job.
And he still had mostly trim it 4 months a week.
Before Finley got the job,
He was depressed a lot.
this is
Married, no kids, drank.
kind of the story that was told of Gray.
Himself from the rafters in his garage about a year ago.
Good night, Roscoe.
It's one of the things I found a bit weird. Most people, if they've seen, had a coworker that was brutally murdered, may not have been as well adjusted during the same day about what had happened. So that's something I think that they should have kept from the book. It makes Roscoe seem cut off from her emotions, like she's really good at suppressing everything, or she's just a very cold person.
Yeah.
This is how it was done in Killing Floor, as far as coming back home to discover that someone had been in her home.
You're gonna kill me?
Could have been here for me. My car was parked out front.
One of life's mysteries. Which one are they after?
I'm really gonna need a gun.
Yep. All right, that does it for episode 2. Appreciate you coming out and taking a look at this with me. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe so you can go ahead and get the next video. I always check the comments. Give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, depending on how you feel. And see you next time.